On Pepper's recommendation, I thought I'd go and have a chat with Tiki. On the way, it became apparent to me the importance of kirituhi to us as a nation. Kirituhi is the celebration of the melting pot of mixed Kiwi cultures while embracing our traditional Māori roots.
Tiki, can you tell us how you discovered moko?
For sure. I think the first real memory I have is actually, do you remember those Maui adventure books?
Yeah.
I was probably around 5 or 6 years old, but I think they were written by a guy called Peter Gossage or something, and they had Maui slows down the sun.
Yeah.
How Maui created fire or something like that, right? So all these different books. So I remember just being probably around 5 or 6 years old was the first time I saw what moko was, and Maui had moko on his face. When I actually saw physically my first actual person with tā moko on their face was probably when I was around 13, and it was gang members. What really did it for me though, what made me want to actually go into getting tā moko and tattoos was the movie Once Were Warriors. I think it was around 1990, something like that, and it totally blew my mind, and something just hit me. It was like bang, like there's something in this movie, I want to look like that, because I was, I grew up in Christchurch, away from my marae, away from my elders, so I never had anyone to really pass down the information about my, my whakapapa and my genealogy, my waka, where I was from. So when I saw Once Were Warriors, it was something that really triggered me and made me really want to research that. And the way that I did that was going to the Christchurch Library. I was 14 years old, going to the Christchurch Library and looking up books on my iwi, which is Ngāti Maniputo, and my waka, which is Tainui waka, and looking through these books and researching and finding all these beautiful designs and these beautiful meanings behind a lot of the stuff. And so I'd draw them, write them down, write down the meanings and what that meant and and then I would take that drawing to a tattooist in Christchurch. And back then I didn't know any Māori tattooist, so it would be a Pākehā tattooist, right? And I'll go, hey look, this is what I want, this is what it means, I want it there. And then that's pretty much how it happened for like 10 years.
Wow. For
10 years, until I actually finally met a tā moko tattooist. But up until that point, it was just me just trying to understand it. It was my way of connecting with my Māoridom and my roots, yeah.
So how relevant do you think that moko is in today's culture?
From today, 100 years ago, tā moko was prohibited, right? And it was nearly made extinct. That happened and it stayed in that space right up until maybe the sort of the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s. That's when the gang members started to adopt it, put moko on their face. They brought it back, right? And then I guess in the 90s was when Once Were Warriors hit, which inspired a generation like myself. And then you get it towards now, which is, you got the top sports persons who are covered in moko now. You get at any given time there's an All Black who is, who are sleeved up. You're starting to see it now in such more of a positive light, and which is what it's doing now is it's inspiring our youth. We have incredible young tattooists now, so that is just mind-blowing to see where these youth are going to take this part of our culture onto the next generation. It's really exciting.
So what are your thoughts on kirituhi?
The tattooists who have tattooed me who are non-Māori, I'm stoked to have their work on me because we've talked about it. We've talked about the issues that are around that, and we've come to the conclusion that, okay, together we are doing it with the correct tikana, and that's the main thing. We talk about kaupapa, the agenda, the intention. If you are a Pākehā tattooist doing tā moko, then you're just going to have to dig deeper, and you're going to have to learn more, and you're going to have to really find your space within that, because a lot of people are going to be judging. And the most people that judge me actually Māori, my own people, are the biggest judges of me and whether or not I should wear this or not, etc., and carry this or not. And that's kei te pai, that's all good. That's just how much is around tā moko and how much energy it holds and the space that it holds. Everyone has an opinion and everyone has a voice, and everyone's tā moko is a different experience and stuff. So, you know, me personally, I tend not to judge. I just tend to support more than be judgy, you know what I mean? That's just kind of way I've been brought up.
So how do you see the relationship between moko and kiratui developing in the future?
Just because you're non-Māori doesn't mean that you shouldn't be a tā moko tattooist. Or just because you're non-Māori doesn't mean you shouldn't have tā moko on you, right? Once we start putting in those rules, then, you know, we've got to look at the All Blacks. Like, do the non-Māori All Blacks sit down when it's time to do the haka? You know what I mean? Or things like that. And it's like, you've got to look at the context of it. And I think that, as I said before, with my own experience with non-Māori tattooists doing tā moko on me, is that it's got to be a beautiful understanding, and it's got to be something that's coming from the right space. Because we want it to survive. We don't want it to go back 100 years. We want it to stay, and we want it to be healthy, and we want it to be celebrated. And let's celebrate that by teaching Māori and non-Māori more about tā moko and about the culture.
Well, thanks for your time and
You're welcome.
Welcoming us to your home and telling us all about your experiences and thoughts. It's great. Thank
You're
you.
welcome, and thank you for taking the initiative to talk about this and putting it on a wider screen, because I think it's really important. And I think that it's about time to, that people start talking about it a lot more and being open about it. So ka pai to you too.